But my point really is the fact that we can't see intelligent life puts a figure on how likely intelligent life is to survive.
Yeah.
My guess is very rarely does a planet last long enough in a quiet period to not be knocked back to the goop level.
Yeah.
Because if a 100-kilometer object hit Earth, it probably wouldn't wipe out life.
It would certainly send it back to the...
But we'd go back to the goop level.
Yes.
And unless there might be a few people who last a generation or so.
I know. I think 100-kilometer, it would be people in the space station, they would run out of supplies. That would... Yeah.
Yeah. So it
pretty sobering.
It's bad. And but the point is, there are lots of 1,000-kilometer bodies.
There's only one that's Ceres, which has the mysterious white spot on it.
You are right.
Yeah, can I just say, let's just... What do you think that white spot in Ceres is? Have you thought about it?
I think it's incredible.
Okay, you don't have an idea of what it might be?
I think there are lots of... I think the most likely explanation is slightly quite dull.
Ceres sure it will be.
Is very, very high in ice. We know that.
It's far enough out that it has...
It's very likely. It could be a relatively recent meteorite impact that has melted and then reformed the ice, which is quite white to the... Because when you melt things, there tends to be a chemical sorting. So I think that's sadly the most likely. But the most dull.
Yeah, I know. Well, so I actually am in that camp. It is right in the middle of an impact crater.
Yeah.
And if it's a very young crater, it could be that it's either exposed something or has remelted. It could be a heavy iron meteor or something, but we have it in the middle of a crater. It's something like that.
But it's not quite central. It's offset.
Well, there's two pots.
And there's two
one
parts
that's in the middle, and there's another one. And the other one, that's a little more interesting.
Well, not necessarily, because quite often bodies they bounce. If you look, look at the impacts on Jupiter,
we've seen some that bounced. Actually, we've seen ones on Earth where we've seen no, they bounced. Actually, that's not true. Okay, forget this. We've seen it where objects have broken up in the atmosphere and they've created 2 impact or 3 or 4 impact craters. And Jupiter was a great example because the thing got tidally disrupted. Shoemaker-Levy 9.
That's right.
Yeah, and that was an amazing event.
So just to explain what happened there is the object doesn't necessarily come straight in. It can quite often come in a curved path. The gravitational force of Jupiter broke the thing apart because an awful lot of asteroids and comets are not very strongly bound. They're not unlike cigarette ash, they'll be separated out.
Cigarette ash is what I heard,
And so that can also happen. So that might also happen with Ceres.
I think, possibly. They seem rather close together for that, but we will find out. I just wanted to take this aside because maybe he's right. Maybe he's wrong. It'll be awesome if you're right.
It's a guess.
It's a guess,
and that's great.
It's great.
But it might be. It could be something else that is unexplained. What I found really exciting because during my time at university, the wonderful Voyager probes.
Oh man,
well, that was amazing. But
I was like 10 years old. I was loving. We were all loving that.
But you're right. During the earlier part, I was as well. But I'm 51 now, by the way.
I'm 42. It's not that far.
But there was when it arrived at Triton, and we saw the geysers and all that sort of thing, as far out as Neptune. That was firstly it was amazing.
Cryovolcanism was just such a revelation.
But the fact is, it was expected to be a relatively quiescent dust storm.
Right.
And so I thought, firstly, it was fascinating. Secondly, it wasn't what we expected. So I know it sounds stupid, but I'm expecting something we don't expect.
Yes, and that is actually the best way to be a scientist, right? Is to expect the unexpected.
But it's perfectly fine to have theories to explain things.
Yeah.
Because even when we get better pictures, because I think the probe's going to go in orbit, is it today?
It's going to go into it's very soon. I haven't.
It's very soon.
We are all very excited.
But anyway, the point is, we will get much better information. But I'll have a private bet that it still doesn't explain it.
It'll take a while to actually really get to the bottom of it, for sure.
And it may well be that we need to see the reflected light, looking at the characteristics, see if there are any obvious absorption lines.
Yep.
try and see chemically what it is. It may well be water ice.
Yeah, we might have to send another mission to actually take a sample of this thing. Maybe it'll be the white spot for a long time.
Yeah, that is quite possible. But it's interesting because it shows science is quite important as well, because it could be some other thing that we don't expect. It could even be a volcano, which I think is very unlikely, by the way.
Cryovolcanism,
There's nothing to drive it.
There's nothing to drive it. I mean, unless it's but impact crater, recent impacts, maybe.
Well, one of the things that I thought was quite interesting is looking at changing the subject again slightly.
Okay, that's okay, because we love this, right?
I love the idea.
This guy is awesome, right? I gotta say, right?
That's very, very kind.
We haven't even talked about machine code yet, right?
I love the idea that we can terraform Mars.
I do as well.
So I looked at quite brutal ways of doing it, and trying to, and this is where my knowledge of the physics and the material science of the Mars. Firstly, we don't really know what the distribution is, but taking a very, very large chunk of ice,
yes,
attaching a rocket motor to it.
Well, actually, all you need, you could use a motor that actually just melts the ice and uses that as reaction mass.
Yes, you can, well, exactly. You dig a hole and you get steam as your reaction mass. It can take years. It doesn't matter. But if you were to drop it on one of the poles of Mars, it would, as it approached Mars, it would pick up at quite a speed anyway.
Yeah.
And so a huge amount of energy would be dumped onto Mars. And it would, for quite a long period of time, it would be at a very high temperature. And I'm talking about 500,000 years.
Yes.
It would be above the melting point of water. So what it would do for an area of many tens, if not hundreds of square miles, it would stop CO2 condensing.
Right, yeah.
And so it would put CO2 into the atmosphere. And that CO2 would have quite a profound greenhouse effect.
Yeah.
Gradually, over tens of years, raising the temperature of Mars as a first step to terraforming.
Yeah.
And then it's not, we criticize genetic engineering, but I don't think it's beyond the wit of humanity to find or engineer microbes that could then live at that super low temperature.
I'm pretty sure we've already found microbes that could actually survive.
That's right. Well, no, it's not surviving. They've also got to give off gases that preserve and increase the amount of CO2.
Like methane.
Yeah.
Methane, yeah, okay.
Really powerful greenhouse gases. Doing what? The things that we hate on Earth.
Yes, I know. It's exactly what we need on Mars. Of course, on Venus, you want the opposite effect, right? You want to take all that carbon dioxide and bind it up. And
I personally think Venus doesn't work, sadly. The real problem...
It takes too long, that's the problem. It just takes hundreds of thousands of years.
And losing energy is much harder than trapping it. Because the energy is there, it's coming in from the sun. All you're trying to do is reflect some of it back to the surface. Yeah. With Venus, it's a whole order more complicated.
Venus has less sunlight getting to the surface than on Earth, right? Because the clouds reflect so much.
But they also hold it.
They hold it so efficiently.
Yeah, so if I were betting, I would say Mars is a way easier target.
Yeah.
And also, if you think how hot Venus is at the surface, all that stored energy has to be lost.
Yeah, damn hot.
And the other problem is, all the things that we like to live, all the chemicals we need to live, have largely been boiled off Venus.
Well, so the hydrogen is what's been lost, right? Yeah. So the water, because you didn't have water in the atmosphere, the CO2 didn't precipitate out, right?
A lot of the oxygen's been lost as well.
Yeah, the hydrogen. Well, there's a lot of carbon dioxide, and that's got oxygen in it.
That's true.
The carbon didn't get bound up in rocks like it did on Earth.
Yeah.
So Venus has lost a lot of hydrogen. That's really the main thing. And hydrogen is a very useful thing because you can make water with it.
So I think it's quite hard with Venus. I mean, you could still take you could take Ceres even.
Yeah.
Maybe that because I've had this conversation with people before, and they said, "What an act of incredible vandalism." Defiling Mars, defiling Ceres.
Okay, so here's my take on terraforming. I made this public a couple of times. I believe that we will develop the technology in the future to do this, but I believe that we will also develop the ability to have, live in space and have enclosed habitats well before that.
I agree.
And it's far more efficient from a mass and material standpoint to build those kind of habitats than it is to colonize Mars by terraforming. And at that point, people will say, wait, Mars is this pristine wasteland, let's preserve it as a national park or whatever. And I think it would be more likely it's less likely to be subject to terraforming, simply because people will like it the way it is. Right. As you know, and to us, to our 21st century people, it seems like a step back. Right. But I think if you're living in the 25th century, it may seem totally obvious.
Part of me agrees with you, but I think we're looking at it from our present day sensibilities. One of the things that, and it's slightly depressing, is we're in a transitionary period. Currently we're ruled by governments, which are democratic, relatively speaking.
Relatively. Depends how much money you have.
Well, that is the problem, because of the rise of corporations. When corporations start to take control, which we're not quite seeing, but there is one route where that's the case, and that's the future route that with Frontier and the Elite series of games, I've assumed.
Right. That would be the Federation.
No.
Oh no, it's okay.
The corporations, the rise of the corporations.
Right. Well, wait.
Did you read the history that was with Frontier?
I did.
I can test you on it.
10 years ago, 20 years ago. Oh my god.
So
I'm terrible.
What that postulates is, sadly, there will be a world war, and it's. I mean, I think that it. I'm trying to remember. Frontier showed the history as this decade, because don't forget this was written in 1990.
Yes, of course. There was always a future.
Is the decade of religious strife.
Back in 1984, Khan was ruling the world, right? Before we sent him off in the Boston Bay. I mean, you know, future history. 2001, 2010. Yeah, they're history now.
Anyway, the point is, something's got to happen. The current trajectory we're on to change what we are, and it's got to be some quite major event. It might be, and what would be great is if it's done by consensus. It's just the cynic in me thinks it won't be.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're right, but I think if corporations are in control, if you can terraform Mars relatively cheaply,
it would happen.
It would happen.
Okay.
Even if governments were against it.
I can totally buy that. Totally. But then, then again, I do like Total Recall with the whole charging for oxygen.
But I think what would happen is you would have domes preserving parts of Mars' surface.
Oh, wait, like
the other way around.
The other way. Oh, that's a good idea,
so
actually.
The national park would be inside a dome.
And be like super low pressure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because what?
This is why this guy writes games, because he has the imagination, right?
No, you're being very kind. Because one of the things that is interesting about almost all of the rest of the solar system is it's been preserved for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
So if there is anything out there, or was anything out there in terms of alien interest, there might be something out there.
Yeah.
And it would have been preserved, because it could have happened any time in the last few billion years.
Wow.
And it will still be up there.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible we might find things on Mars that surprise us. Well, buried in the dust.
As a scientist, I always want to find things that surprise me.
Yeah. But I think, this series is going to surprise us. I really hope it will. I hope, ironically, it won't be what I'm saying. That it's just.
You're hoping it's not an alien with a laser pointer shining it.
Well, that'd be great.
That would be great, but it could be.
It would
the
change.
Implications
Things.
would be very. Yes, it would change things, right?
But I think most likely it's a patch of ice or something like that. A crater is either exposed or created because it's melted and then it's recooled. Because anything white is very unlikely to survive in space, because it will heat, it will reflect, but more importantly, the radiation, will tend to darken things.
Yes.
Because a lot of carbon compounds like CO2 get dissociated by cosmic rays and things like that, and you tend to end up with molecular carbon on the surface.
Yeah, and people don't realize just how dark comets are. Like when you make cameras, you get a special kind of paint for the interior that's like very, very black. many commentary surfaces are as black as that because of the very fine carbon compounds in the surface.
Even comets, active comets like Halley, I remember they're blacker than anthracite coal. That was a figure I heard. It is. And you just think, well, that's pretty damn black.
Yes! How much more black could it be?
Yeah.
None more black.
But the idea is, and you can sort of see it, if you ever made a snowman, it starts off beautiful and white, with the carrot and all that. 3 days later, it's gone actually quite dark.
All the dirt is what's left.
That's right. And the dirt gets preserved, whereas what happens is the ice gets essentially burnt
But on
off.
top of that, any complex carbon compounds are getting subject to cosmic rays, and then they get broken up and you get molecular carbon, right?
Yeah, so it's actually worse in space than your snowman.
Yeah.
But the great thing with that though is it's understanding it. It most likely ends up with quite a hard crust around it because of this, almost like a baked Alaska.
Yeah. Have you seen the pictures of the Rosetta probe?
I
pictures?
have. They're amazing.
They're stunning. Can you say the name of the comet?
Something with Gerasimirov. It's
67P Chermyrov Gerasimenko.
That's the one. Something like that.
I've had so much practice saying that by now.
Well, I think that's an amazing thing to have done. It's a real shame.
And it's European as well.
That's right. It's a real shame that Philae, or I still don't know how to say that properly.
It will be back.
It will be back. I really hope it will be, because although looking at the pictures, I think there are a few locations it could be in which aren't very good because they're quite deep. And it's almost certainly on its side from the picture it took before it shut down. And so what I'm hoping is it will be just long enough for it to wake up. Fingers crossed.
I wanted to give us more information. It was so brave, like letting itself go and landing in that scary environment.
Well, the fact that it bounced such a bit.
Yes.
But I think that's interesting, that, contrasting that environment, and it does look like the Comet 67 is relatively pristine, because you can see there are features that are a relatively constant size that matches a lot of the theories of like planetesimals. And how when a solar system is forming, there are these sort of snowflake-like objects that stick together because the gravity between them is exceedingly low, but also they're very soft.
Yes.
Like cigarette ash. And they gradually coalesce, and that possibly, and then they gradually come together. That's possibly what's happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, comets form out where they haven't had the ability to. They collect into comets, but they're so far out they don't collect into larger objects, right?
Just changing the subject slightly again. Whoever's still listening, well done. You clearly care about astronomy.
I think this will have to be in 2 parts by now, right? This is going to go viral, by the way. You're going to be all over the internet.
The mind boggles. What rubbish have I been talking? It's the beer,
It's the beer. He's got Corona. I have Pliny.
Wow.
Pliny the Elder.
By the way, Pliny the Elder is 8%. So Scott is doing really well here.
Yes. Wow, we've been going a long time as well. This is like 40 minutes, this guy. But and actually, it's probably a good time for us to finish this up. Then,
it is. It's a great track.
We've talked. This guy is awesome. I love him. And as I said,
and we've hardly talked about games.
We haven't talked about games at all. Okay, I gotta say, right? I've been doing this for everyone else. Okay, so David Braben, I've been asking everyone else what you're doing here. You're here to promote Elite, and it's won the award, so you've succeeded there.
And we won the audience award, which I'm really grateful and very, very proud of.
Right. Okay. Think about this. What is the coolest thing you've seen that you haven't worked on at GDC?
I loved some of the indie games, actually. They were quite very, very pretty.
Yes.
There was one, and I can't remember its name.
Okay.
But the rendering style was so lovely, and it was quite sinister. I loved that. It was during the awards, and they gave the name and then they showed the pictures, and I apologise.
Oh man, we're gonna have to find out which one.
Yeah, but I did like some of the others as well. There's the one that looks like Escher.
Okay, MC Escher. Was it Monument Valley?
Monument Valley, yeah.
Yes, well-deserved award.
That looked quite interesting, yeah.
Yes, it's great. totally worth playing on your phone when you're commuting if you don't drive.
And also, I didn't see it at GDC, but I played it recently. Alien Isolation is a lovely game.
Oh, I love that, and I love playing the old one. Alien is one of my.
Oh, I know. It's
so
fear, and I haven't played it.
Yeah.
I haven't had enough time to play it very much, so I don't know how it unfolds. But the first bit is really sinister.
I'll admit I got that game, and I only got the DLC, which is just the Nostromo from the original Alien.
Oh wow!
Right, and there's 2 missions in that, and that's all I've really had time to play.
Oh, excellent!
Oh, it is so good, and the audio is great. I kept on dying early on because I had my headphones back to front.
Well, I'm very lucky. We have a 7.1 setup.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's brilliant. It
Oh.
works very well. It's really frightening.
But Alien is one of only 2 movies that ever scared me. But
What's the other one?
The Thing.
Oh yes! Oh yes!
Yes!
I like that as well.
Oh wow! The whole scene with the blood and the whole thing, you're like, which one is it? It's so dense! It's okay, and the final question I was going to ask is San Francisco, what's awesome about it?
Best city in the world.
Oh wow, really? But you don't live here?
No, I don't particularly like London as a city. Cambridge is a city, it's a town, so that's
It's
all
a
right.
Oh, okay. That's,
You
you get great.
I love you can walk around it.
Yes.
It's very friendly.
Yeah.
The climate is interesting. It's not always the same.
Yes.
I love sailing. And sailing
You
around
should
ships.
come out and do some sailing here.
I'd love to.
There's
But
a lot of sailing here.
it's also, and don't get me wrong, American cities are all different, very interesting. But it's that sprawly cities are also, they're not as interesting to walk around. Obviously Boston, you can walk around it.
Totally.
But I don't know, San Francisco
Boston
has
has a
some...
Cambridge as well, oddly enough.
I know.
That's where, there's some game studio in Cambridge, I'm thinking. I forget it, never mind.
Yeah, I've never heard of one.
Yeah.
No, obviously MIT is great in Cambridge.
Oh, yeah.
Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Yeah, they're under, 8 feet of snow right now.
No, I know, so I hear.
So, yeah, PAX East, you're not going to get there. No,
No, there are people from Frontier as we speak setting up at PAX East.
they've dug themselves out of
It's the first time we've got 2 shows running at the same time.
Wow. But you're not going to make it. But I'm so glad you came here, David. Seriously, I'm going to end this. But
lovely talking to you, Scott.
This has been great. Like, we could have just kept talking forever. And as I said, we haven't even touched on games or programming or yeah. Dude, you're awesome.
For another time. Excellent.
Another
Thanks,
time, we're going to talk more. Fly safe.
Excellent.
Wait.
There you go.
We're going to do it together.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.